started on the disassembly here. It's just a Phillips screwdriver. You got 4 screws, 1 on each corner for the LCD. Always probably shouldn't use metal, use a sponger. But this is your spot. The side that has the volume button is where you want to start. So the opposite of where the digitizer plugs in. Lift it and you'll see the flex here. Kind of got some adhesive. There's a little bar, you can get in there. A little bar you gotta flip up. Do not use metal. If you use metal and you short this out, you will lose the backlight on the LCD and you'll have to do some pretty crazy stuff to fix it on the board here. So flip this little latch up and then it actually just pulls out this direction. So yeah, pull it out. That's loose. So remove the LCD here. Now we got the digitizer. This is just adhesed or adhered in right here. So I've unadhered it. We're going to go ahead and again, sponger. Flip these little tabs up here. And unplug the digitizer. On the digitizer you have your home button. Actually it stays with it. You see the 2 contacts. There's 2 pins on the port here. Those 2 pins make connection with that. And that's how the home button actually responds. So whenever you are doing a digitizer replacement, you do have to transfer over this piece right here. Next, as you notice, there's not too much to this thing. The board is here. The majority of this is a giant battery. So again, we'll point out everything here. Obviously charging port, Wi-Fi flex, power button, volume button, hold button. Front camera, back camera is right here. This is the headphone jack flex. This is actually what plugs into this subboard, which actually controls these power buttons and volume button, and it plugs into the board here. This screw, you'll notice once we get this thing apart right here, the battery has terminals and then there's contacts for that on the motherboard. This screw holds those contacts down tight for that. Besides that, your loudspeaker assembly right here. And I think that is everything. So let's get to it. You got 2 screws in this little bracket piece that kind of holds down the board in the corner where the digitizer plugs in. We're going to go ahead and remove those first. This little bracket piece just comes out. Next, we'll go ahead and actually undo that screw that holds in the motherboard to the battery terminals. And then you got 2 more screws up at the very top of the board that we'll remove next. Next, we'll unplug this guy. Okay. And then we'll unplug the headphone jack. Okay. Then over here we have the charging port. Plug the charging port. Here's the loudspeaker. Flip this around so you can kind of see in there a little bit better. This is where the loudspeaker plugs in at. Just unplug the loudspeaker. And And the board's kind of adhered. Just do that. And unplug the Wi-Fi flex. There we go. So that's the board. That's where I know it's kind of hard to see how Wi-Fi plugged in, but the Wi-Fi plugs in right here underneath the board. Those are the terminals that make connection with the battery. So those 4 pins connect with that. So that next step, we'll go ahead and remove the headphone jack. And while I'm in here, I'm just going to the camera's got this foam adhesive that kind of holds it down in. You kind of got to pry it up and break that foam. There you are. See that? And then also, this little guy right here is a mic for FaceTime. So if you're FaceTiming, you would be using that mic so they could hear you. It's kind of hard to detach. You do need to be very careful that you don't rip the flex. Probably put some heat on this real fast. You don't want to put too much because you are dealing with, obviously, a flex. So just to kind of loosen that adhesive. There we go, I'm getting in there. What? I already said it was a mic. I already said this was the mic. I already told him what it was. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so got that mic unadhered. It's just super adhered. I'm just breaking the adhesive on that. There we go. There's the flex for that. I'm just going to keep this all attached. That's the whole gist. Let's unadhere this flex here. So we'll leave the camera and that mic plugged in.
That's cool. That's what I want to do really quick.
That's the headphone jack, camera, and mic. Next, we'll go for the headphone jack and Wi-Fi flex. We'll start by releasing the Wi-Fi flex. Got 2 itty bitty little screws. Then the screws holding in the charging port. And loosen the adhesive that holds that down. Okay, and I'm actually going to detach the loudspeaker. So there's the charging port. This is some tape that's falling on it. Charging port. And Wi-Fi flex.
Hold on, let me see it.
And next step we're pretty much at is removing this battery. There's nothing that's more of a pain in the butt than this. It's super adhered in. And we're going to heat this up in just a second. I'm kind of just loosening it a little bit so I can get my tool underneath it at least when I do start to heat it. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to heat it. We're going to heat it from this side because you don't like to put a lot of heat on batteries. So we heat it from the back. And the adhesive basically goes down each side of each cell. So we're going to try to, and then one all the way across the very top here. So we're going to try to do the same thing roughly on the other side. Try to get where the main strips are at. Heat it till you think it's hot enough and then heat it some more. Because this battery is like really in there. I make this thing so hot that I can't even really like touch it kind of thing. So, go from there. And we'll start working on adhering it. You're not going to be able to really see what I'm doing until I get this thing at least halfway pried up. But basically, I'm applying a lot of pressure down and scraping across the metal, not up, because it'll tear into the battery. See, it almost seems like I'm into that one already. Man, these things suck. is that? So we didn't puncture the battery or anything, which is very good. We try not to bend these cells up too bad. I would imagine that's not good for it, but to tell you the truth, I don't know too much about these huge cell batteries. But they seem to be pretty firm, and I think that bending them is probably not the best thing for them. So I try not to bend them or damage them at all. Plus, you got this PCB board that runs across this whole thing, and they're all attached very flimsily. So you do have to do it even and pull up on the battery all together very evenly. So you're not tweaking one and bending the other and so forth. So we can get rid of all this crap that we have here. And you'll know if you puncture the battery, you'll smell it. It has a very, very distinct smell. Battery acid. For those of you who don't know, this is just a flat blade, X-Acto blade, that I'm scraping off this adhesive with. Okay. Next we'll do the loudspeaker assembly. Just 2 screws here. This piece is actually taped down. Kind of funky. I don't take the tape all the way off. I just lift it to where it's not going to hold it down to the metal frame anymore. Hold it down to the housing. And then I kind of push out here. Once I get that part out, kind of get in this corner and just wiggle it until it kind of wiggles loose. Once it's pretty close to being ready to pop out here. There we go. There's your speakers. And I don't know exactly what the rest of this is. I don't know why they would make it such a weird shape like that, but mainly it's your speakers. I'm just going to cut this off so it doesn't get in the way in the future. Don't know why they put that tape there. Last but not least, the most annoying part of this. This just comes right off. It's just adhered down. It's just a little plastic piece. You got your camera. This PCB board. It's called like the power PCB board because obviously it controls the power button. And the flex. We'll start by removing all screws in this general area. There's one holding the board down. There's 3 in the volume hold area. And there's also this little bracket that these 2 screws hold down. It's a little black guy right here. This, don't lose that. That's important. Then we'll remove the ones in the camera. Get 2 in the camera. pop this camera out. The metal bracket can come off this. It usually does, but it's stuck to this one, so I'm just going to leave it. That way it doesn't cause any harm. There's the camera. 2 more screws holding down the power button. There's a piece of tape right here. I just cut it. Be careful using metal around the board. And I unplugged that flex. This flex is the flex that runs all the way over here. The power button flex. And we're going to try to unadhere this a little bit here. Trying to get this tape out of the way so it's not sticking to this piece of the tape. There we go. Got it. Okay. So this is where we start. Don't be using metal. Sometimes you have to, obviously. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just... Maybe you can see it like that. Just getting the flex unadhered. Got that. I leave it attached to the bracket, obviously. Come over here. There we go. And last but not least, still got some adhesive up around this guy. And we have the volume slash power button. So I don't lose these. I want to set these buttons. Actually, this one usually doesn't fall out. We'll leave that one. We'll try to leave this one in there as well. Okay. Now this PCB board's just got some adhesive holding it down. Also, there's this little piece of foam that you need to pull out. Now, we're going to go around and just kind of pull up on this board and unadhere it. There we go. Once you got the adhesive broke on this, pull that out. There you have the full disassembly of an iPad 2.